We welcome you back to Ford Field in the NFL on Fox with Trent Green, Chris Myers, on the third day of 2010. And the new year could not come fast enough for these two teams. And Devin Hester, double duty as the kickoff and return man, missing the last 3 games. He hasn't been full-time in this department since mid-November against the Packers in 2008. Jason Hanson will kick off. Nick Harris also will be used in that department as well as they try and keep it away from the great return man. It's been 07 since he's run one back for a touchdown. It is Devin Harris. As Devin Hester is brought down just at the 20-yard line, where the Chicago offense, which Hester will be a part of, led by Jay Cutler, will take over, and a couple of completions, and Cutler will break the Bears' single season mark of 315 completions for the year, set by Eric Kramer.
And you can see the performance that he had last week against Minnesota. We talked about it in the opening. Consistency is what you need to be a top-level quarterback in a game-to-game basis and a season-to-season basis.
And Hester as a wide receiver on the right side on first down for Cutler, who throws to Forte. Forte keeps going. Battled close enough near the first down marker after being forced out of bounds. And the starting lineup, Olin Kreutz, of course, the man in the middle, very vocal, but Lovie Smith defended him. And Matt Forte hoping to run the ball a little bit better, as you see Devin Aromashadu in with Earl Bennett at receiver.
And left tackle Chris Williams is coming off his best game, where he held Jared Allen to no sacks last week in Minnesota.
9-yard pickup, second down 1. Forte, quick pass, and completes to Bennett for a first down. And the Lions defense, they've had a lot of changes through the course of the season, but Sammy Hill, 4th-round draft pick from Stillman College, has been impressive up front. And in the middle, Larry Foote out with the foot injury for the 2nd straight game.
And DeAndre Levy is going to be taking his place. Talk to Jim Schwartz, talking about that foundation, those young guys. Rookie DeAndre Levy is getting the start in the middle there for Larry Foote. And
Louis Delmas, the good news, the rookie safety, bothered by a knee injury, is in the starting lineup for the Lions defense. A handoff to Forte on 1st and 10, and he picks up a couple. And Forte came in averaging under 3.5 yards a carry after such an outstanding rookie season.
And he has. Forte does a good job that you could see on first down. They utilized him in the screenplay. They know that Gunther Cunningham's an aggressive defensive coordinator, going to bring a lot of pressure, going to be a much different game plan. At least that's what they're thinking, that the Detroit Lions are going to be much more aggressive defensively. Good way to start out the game with the screen and get the ball in Forte's hands.
So not necessarily a sophomore slump. There have been a lot of things in this offense that haven't worked this year, as Khalil Bell comes in, the rookie from UCLA, and gets a first down. His 30th carry of the year, and when he's had the opportunity, he's made some big plays.
And that's been the problem with the Detroit defense all season. They will have a couple of plays, a couple negative plays where they get the defender, they get the ball carrier in the backfield and stop it, but then they give up a big run, and they've put themselves in difficult situations. And that's why you see them pressuring so much and bringing that safety down into the box, leaving their corners one-on-one.
Another first down and another quick pass as he is completed to Forte, who gets a first down inside Lions territory, about the 38-yard line. An impressive start to things. The Bears picking up where they left off against the Vikings Monday night.
And you like to see the discipline of Jay Cutler. He drops back on the pass. You could see his eyes upfield. He realized the defense is dropping into coverage. Just hit your swing route. Good management, good understanding of the game there. Realizing that Detroit was dropping into coverage and just hitting your swing, which ultimately turns into a first down.
So a 12-yard pickup and another first down. Devin Hester lines up on the right side. Forte, you're back. And they mark him out just on the other side of the 40-yard line in Lion territory, and it's a run. And this time the Lions bottle him up for a loss as Forte is brought down near the 45-yard line. It'll bring up second, the first second and long test early for the Bear offense.
And this is an important down for them. We talked with Julian Peterson, and he said to keep the Bears in 3rd and 6 or more. So that puts a crucial emphasis on this second down here, to keep him in a long down and distance on 3rd down, because the Bears have had trouble when it's over 6 yards on 3rd down.
Saw Lovie Smith watching. A lot of heat on the head coach, who wouldn't talk much about his situation, just talked about this game, finishing strong. Cutler under pressure, quick throw, complete, near the first down marker, and he has Aromashodu, his first catch of the day after coming off a 7-catch, 150-yard night against Minnesota, and Trent, it is a first down.
And you don't have to worry about converting 3rd downs when you have a big play on 2nd down. Devin Aromashodu does a good job. We talked in the opening about how big and how physical he is. This is a relationship that Jay Cutler has told us he would like to develop with him. It's similar to his relationship he had with Brandon Marshall in Denver. He likes the fact that Devin Aromashodu is so big, and as a physical receiver, he can put the ball on his body, and you can see after the catch, he was able to get the first down.
6'2" and just over 200 pounds is Aromashodu on first down for Cutler. In the pocket, quick completion to Jason McKee, the fullback. And let's talk about Aromashodu, because Bear fans said, well, why hadn't this guy been playing earlier? And in the preseason, he had a quad injury, and it affected his development. And then, of course, Johnny Knox, who is inactive today, injured with that ankle, came on the scene, and the Bears got on a roll early. And it wasn't until other injury and opportunity, and the season kind of got off the track, that Aromashodu came back into the picture. Hester injured the last 3 games, and now with Earl Bennett, just think if Knox was healthy, you'd have a 4 wide receiver set that would be tough to deal with. On 2nd down 6, opening drive for the Bears. And Cutler with a timeout.
Good job by Cutler.
Welcome back at Ford Field. Cutler concerned about a corner blitz, the reason he called timeout. On 2nd down 6, Forte splits out to the right. He has time, and incomplete between his tight end Olsen and Forte.
Boy, I'd like to tell you that I'm not sure what happened with that pass. You know, you would think with the direction of the ball and the wobble that was on the ball, it either slipped out of his hand or got tipped. But those are the types of mistakes that the Bears can't afford and Jay Cutler can't afford, because here they are in the red zone. They're in position to score, and that very easily could have been intercepted.
And so often Jay Cutler blamed for the 26 interceptions. How much of that is on the receiver? Unimportant now on 3rd and 6. And he just got rid of it in a hurry when the pressure was coming.
A lot of times defenses, they realize there's a screen coming, and the defensive lineman will grab a hold of the running back and not let him get out of there. The pressure was coming at Jay so quickly. He did a good job of grounding it. Of course, it's not called grounding, but he does a good job of grounding because the running back was right there for the screen.
So the Lion defense, after an impressive drive, does its job stalling the Bears, and not quite in the red zone, but that's been an area for Chicago, whether it's turnovers or penalties. This time they were just kept back, and Robbie Gould, who has hit 26 of 29, will try a 44-yard field goal, and said he could hit 50 or better from indoors here at beautiful Ford Field. And the kick gives the Bears an early 3-0 lead. And that is the rookie Derek Williams, as Robbie Gould kicks it off. The Bears protecting a 3-0 lead. Williams off the bounce, just over the 20-yard line. And Dante Culpepper, the 3-time Pro Bowler, great success in Minnesota. 1 touchdown, 5 interceptions, and completing just 53% of his passes.
And Dante, when deciding who the starting quarterback was this week, you can see the numbers that Dante Culpepper put up. Drew Stanton didn't have much better numbers, so when I think they're deciding the quarterback, you saw the performance Drew Stanton had last week, that Dante Culpepper gives them the best chance to win today.
And that's what the Lions are going for. Matthew Stafford had surgery this week. Their star of the future, as Maurice Morris carries. And the Lions offense with Dominic Raiola, the veteran, in the middle, flanked by some veteran linemen. And you'll note that Calvin Johnson, with his 61 catches, lining up far on the right side, and a bit of a hurry up here for Dante Culpepper on 2nd and 5. And with the defender holding onto his legs, he got rid of it. Tommy Harris had him at his grasp. So it'll be 3rd down and 5.
And that's tough for the quarterback when you have a 3-step drop. and the defensive tackle has your legs by the time you get to the third. There had to have been a protection issue there.
And the pass rush of the Bears, that's what they're looking for, that front four, getting heat. Of course, Hunter Hillenmeyer coming off a big game at linebacker.
And Lance Briggs, making his 5th straight Pro Bowl, is anchoring that defense.
Hillenmeyer with 17 tackles in the win over Minnesota. 3rd and 5 for Culpepper. Time. Calvin Johnson was on that side, and it is intercepted by Zach Bowman, his 6th pick of the year. Calvin Johnson stopped and went right. Culpepper threw it long.
And that's the consistency and the issue that's been with the Lions offense all season long. We talked with Calvin Johnson. When you have 3 different quarterbacks trying to get on the same page, trying to understand what each one is going to think in given situations, it was quite clear that Daunte Culpepper and Calvin Johnson weren't on the same page on that play.
Daunte Culpepper, who has generated just 3 points in his last 3 starts, with an early interception. And so the Bears back on offense. Culpepper. And he's going long for Devin Hester, and he couldn't hold on. William James covering for the Lions.
And Devin Hester is the guy you're looking to stretch the field on.
And Devin Hester, after missing 3 games, back in the lineup, giving Jay Cutler plenty of options here, and they went for it all on 1st down. So a 2nd down 10. Cutler now 5 of 8. He hit on his first 5 passes, 43 yards so far. This time, Forte spins but goes nowhere. Jay Cutler has been a different quarterback on the road. Something he hopes to change here at Ford Field. Under pressure and gets rid of it. So the Lions, when they had to respond defensively, they did.
And a good decision by Jay Cutler, not forcing the ball back into the middle of the field as he's rolling out to his right, throwing the ball out of bounds, putting him in a punting situation. Now you're playing a field position type of game, but a great job by the Detroit defense, as you mentioned, Chris, coming up with a big stop after the turnover.
Brad Maynard will come in to kick for Chicago. And Dennis Northcutt standing at his 10-yard line, ready to return for the Lions. Catch signaled for, and that's where he hauls it in.
Chris, clearly on the last possession, there was a miscommunication between Daunte Culpepper and Calvin Johnson. You can see Calvin Johnson running the comeback at 15 yards, Daunte Culpepper throwing the ball up the field. Here they have communication on the sidelines, and you can see the frustration on Daunte's face.
They get the ball back on 1st and 10, just from across their own 10-yard line, as Maurice Morris gets into the clear. And Morris, the featured back, brought down by Bowman, averaging over 4 yards a carry. He has the longest run for a touchdown by a Lion this year, 64 yards.
Great job by the offensive line of the Detroit Lions, giving Maurice Morris the opportunity to see the hole, make the cutback. And this has been a real problem for the Chicago Bears. They have a history of knowing or being a run-stop defense, but they haven't done that this season, and Detroit took advantage of it there.
Maurice Morris remains in on 1st and 10. Calvin Johnson over on the right side for Culpepper. They're going to run it with Morris, who will fall forward for maybe a yard or 2. Maurice Morris, all those years in Seattle as the versatile backup back, of course, out of Oregon, signing here, and was the backup to Kevin Smith. But when he went down with the injury, Maurice was on the spot and has come through.
And this is another opportunity for these young players, the inexperienced players, for the Lions to find out what they have in those players. Kevin Smith was the guy. He had a great rookie year last year, but Maurice Morris gets this opportunity.
Young Aaron Brown backs him up in this game. On 2nd down, they run the screen to Morris. One of those plays familiar with for his days in Seattle. Gets near the 1st down marker and looks like he fell across. When the Lions, I'm sorry, Trev, want to sustain some kind of drive here to at least leave their defense some breathing room.
And I like that play call. They've been effective. They've had a couple of runs now where they've gotten the ball moving, do a quick play fake, get the defense flowing to where Daunte Culpepper is going to roll out, and then throw the backside screen. And we've got a guy running on the field.
Maybe they should just put that guy outside the building here at Ford Field and freeze them into consciousness. We had 10 below temperatures. Thank goodness we're indoors for this game. A brain freeze maybe for that guy.
Well, you'd think you'd want to stay inside, stay out of the cold. Now he's going to be out in the cold right now. You know, he could have had a few hours in here watching a good game.
Maybe take him to the local jail, but the Lions and Jim Schwartz and Culpepper can use any time they need. It looked like Morris on that screen just short of the first down, and I don't know if Schwartz is hollering about the measurement or where they marked the ball. 3rd and short is what their offense is looking at.
One, I think what Coach Schwartz is upset about, Jim's upset with, I think he's wondering about the spot of the ball or if the ball was moved while all this distraction was going on with the guy out on the field.
He is helping them to spot the ball. Now you can challenge if he felt like it was a bad spot as it relates to a first down or a goal line or a touchdown situation, and in this case it looked like it. Our yellow line not official, but it looked like Morris fell forward enough to get it, and then the spot and then the distraction.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that this game means a lot to Jim Schwartz. If there's any doubt about his intensity, he made that clear right there.
On 3rd and short, and it doesn't look good for the Lions. The Bears were ready for the handoff to Maurice Morris.
And that'll even make him more hot because he was upset about the spot before, thinking he potentially could have had the first down. You're right, he could have done a review, but that's going to even make it worse once they're not able to get the 3rd and short.
So they are faced with a punting situation. The offense, which has hurt them much, as Devin Hester gets ready to receive his first punt of the game. Nick Harris. The Lions stall again. An interception. A fail on 3rd and short. The fair catch for Hester. First down Bears. Forte in the backfield. Forte scrambling for a couple of yards, falling forward. Marvin White up from his safety spot out of TCU. Speaking of the undefeated Horned Frogs, making the stop on Forte.
And the Bears are looking to get in some type of sync again. You remember that first drive, they were able to drive down the field, get into field goal position, get some points on the board. The second drive, they got the turnover, got a short field, and weren't able to do anything. Had a 3 and out and had to punt the ball. Now they're trying to get back into a rhythm offensively. Get Jay Cutler going. He started off the game 5 for 5 and now hasn't had a completion since.
2 tight ends in on 2nd down. Forte carries. It'll bring up 3rd down and short for the Chicago Bears. And much has been made about Forte running the ball his 2nd year. Is it the offensive line? Did they throw a lot because of falling behind early? And coming off Monday night, that was a game where at least the entire offense and defensively, really, they got on the same page. They played well together.
The offensive line played very well that day. They had over 100 yards rushing as a team. That's the one thing Olin Kreutz said. There has been no consistency and no consistent play out of the entire offensive line.
3rd down and 3. Forte splits out to the right side as a receiver for Cutler, who looks to throw, and Forte can't hold on.
And Cutler takes a shot. There's always a risk when you put your wide receiver out as a receiver, or you put your running back out as a wide receiver, because you're isolating the guy in space, and running backs are used to catching the ball in tight confinement. So you can see Jay Cutler takes a hit there from the backside, which you got to have some concern with. When you're on a 3-step drop, you don't think you're going to get blown up from the blind side. So that for the Chicago Bears, their offensive line, we talked about the consistency in the play they had a week ago. They need to get that back.
And something as Maynard's punt goes out of bounds, an awkward punt. That's something the Bears have talked about, a moving pocket for Jay Cutler. He would rather be there than sitting in the pocket. Let's get more on the Lions and Matthew Stafford and our Jennifer Hammond. Hi, Jennifer. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well, Chris and Trenton. I'll tell you one thing, the Lions offense certainly looking to move the ball. They don't have a first half touchdown in the month of December, only one. It was Matt Stafford to Calvin Johnson, December 6th against Cincinnati. They want to see something from Dante Culpepper, and if he can't do the job, maybe they'll just have to go to Drew Stanton early. Guys.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. Of course, Patrick Ramsey was signed, the veteran quarterback, so they're playing, in essence, somebody is, for a backup job to Matthew Stafford next year. On 1st and 10, Culpepper has time. And penalty flag flies as he hits Jake Nordine, his tight end. Let's see what the call is. If it's against Detroit, it'll negate a healthy gain that would be a first down inside the 35 of Chicago.
And it was a good job by Culpepper buying time, sliding in the pocket, not taking the risk up the field and dumping it down, but this play's coming back for a holding.
Holding, offense, number 76, 10-yard penalty, replay, first down.
Our referee, Jerome Boger, that's Jeff Backus starting his 144th consecutive game, most among NFL linemen.
And that's the guy that Coach Schwartz was telling us he considers an Iron Man. He shows up every day to work. He shows up to practice, shows up to game. Like you said, 144 straight starts for an offense, for any position that's a lot, but especially for an offensive lineman.
We try to accentuate the positive, one of our New Year resolutions, so we'll just gloss over the penalty. That was the first penalty of the game. 1st and 20 now. They're going to try and run it here with Morris, who goes nowhere. Can't help but think of when the Steelers won the Super Bowl, how they got hot at the right time, worked their way in. They're going to need some help, but they have to win that game first. We'll keep an eye on all the other activity that has playoff ramifications. As Culpepper on 2nd and 17 has room to run, throws, completes near the 40. That's Calvin Johnson who has a first down.
And you can still see Dante Culpepper has that cannon of an arm. He buys time in the pocket. He slides. You'll see the good pocket that he has, and then he steps up in the pocket because of the pressure coming around from the outside. You could hear the fans talk about run the ball, because there was a big window there. But he's got a cannon. He puts it on a rope to Calvin Johnson. Calvin does a good job getting separation and working back down the sideline to get the ball and makes the defender miss to convert for the first down.
And averaging 15 yards a catch coming in. That good for 17 for Calvin Johnson. 2 tight ends on first down. The pitch to Morris. And some blocking. He got through it in the backfield, but it looked like he was going to lose yardage.
How they didn't make that tackle, or at least make contact on him in the backfield, has got to have Lovie Smith scratching his head, because you were thinking it was going to be a tackle for loss. He steps right over the defender and is able to pick up 6 yards.
6 yards on the
Some Bears laying on the ground by the time he was able to make that gain. So 2nd down 4 from just inside the 26-yard line. Aaron Brown, the running back as a receiver, goes on the right side with Calvin Johnson for Culpepper. Trailing 3-0. Quick pass is complete, and that is Aaron Brown. It'll be short of the first down. Aaron Brown, the rookie from Texas Christian University, 6th-round draft pick, averaging over 4.5 yards a carry, and also very valuable as a receiver, benched as a return man when he had trouble in that area because Coach Schwartz wanted more explosiveness.
Well, and that's what you're trying to find, right? We talked about the building blocks and the foundation. You're trying to find those supporting cast members, the other people that are going to fit into that role.
And of course, when you have a guy like Lance Briggs, your centerpiece on defense for Chicago, you know that's in place. On 3rd and 2, Culpepper from the shotgun. Protection, pass is low and incomplete. Intended for Bryant Johnson at the 12-yard line. So Jason Hanson will come on to try and kick a field goal and tie the game.
Well, Dante Culpepper in this Lions offense is going to be frustrated with that, because he did have the receiver open. He just threw it too wide, threw it too far to the outside. The receiver couldn't make the adjustment. Bryant Johnson couldn't make the adjustment to make the catch, and now they're forced to attempt a field goal.
This will be a 42-yard field goal for Hanson, who has admittedly had an off year for him in terms of reliability. Snap, hold, kick is up and good. And Hanson ready to kick off here. Devin Hester. Second kickoff return of the day. Look out. Devin Hester is back. Devin Hester all the way up to the 47, 48-yard line before Zach Follett brought him down.
And that's why you have a speed guy back there returning it. Change the field position. Change the field position by moving and finding your way, weaving through there, using that speed. Now the Bears have the ball near midfield.
And we have an injured Bears player, but looking at the way the special teams did the job on keeping him from getting into territory of the Lions after a 44-yard return.
And you can see how much ground Zach Follett had to cover to make that tackle. First, he's on the other side. He comes all the way down. I don't think he's as fast as what Devin Hester is, and he does a good job of pursuing and taking the right angles and bringing Devin Hester down.
Jamar Williams being helped off the field. He was injured on that kickoff return. And Hester, who missed games because of a left calf injury. Some people thought maybe it was a hamstring, but that's specifically what has kept him out of the lineup. But I know Devin Hester, his brother, was watching games and watching Joshua Cribbs and other players and said, you know, hey, you need to get back to your old style once you're healthy. Get out there and run the football back. And that's a spark that he provides for this Bears offense.
When you see the shot that the Bears took earlier, they tried taking a deep pass to him down in the end zone, and you could see on the return there, I don't think that calf injury is hampering him or slowing him down any.
So Jay Cutler in the opening drive, hitting on target, slowed since. Khalil Bell, the rookie from UCLA, is in the backfield. Good field position. Last 5 passes, Cutler has misfired. On 1st and 10, it will be Bell powering forward, and just across midfield, DeAndre Levy. His second start at middle linebacker, the 3rd leading tackler with the stop.
DeAndre Levy is one of those foundation guys. He's one of those guys that Coach Schwartz talked about, getting an opportunity to start for Larry Foote. Will Larry Foote be back? He only signed a 1-year deal after coming from Pittsburgh, and DeAndre Levy stepping in and playing well, and one of those young guys they're looking for.
3rd-round pick out of Wisconsin, outside linebacker in college, but Jim Schwartz said we drafted him to play inside. And again, it will be Bell. It'll bring up about 3rd and 2 as we are winding down the opening quarter. The opening drive, Jay Cutler took the Bears downfield, a Robbie Gould field goal. An interception by Culpepper, and since a field goal from Hanson. Along with Trent Green, Chris Myers, as Orlando Pace looks on, the 34-year-old offensive lineman of the Bears, on 3rd and 2 after a couple of running plays. Khalil Bell in the backfield. Cutler looks to throw, completes to his tight end Olsen, who goes down right at the first down marker. William James there with it.
And that's the important thing about getting him outside the pocket. We talked with Jay about the play calling that he had with Mike Shanahan in Denver, the way they got him outside the pocket, got him on the move. He's very comfortable moving around in the pocket, and that's just one example of plays that he's used in the past. And the thing I liked about last week's game is I thought Ron Turner did a great job of calling that game last week against Minnesota, and we're seeing more of that today, moving Jay Cutler around.
So a 1st down pickup to open the 2nd quarter. Bell remains in the backfield. Cutler has it. And for Olsen, his tight end, 1st down near the 10-yard line. Greg Olsen came in as the leading receiver with 55 catches and 7 touchdowns.
And once again, using the play fake angle, Jay Cutler is going to fake the handoff, come back and set up in the pocket. Where is on last down, he kept going and carried out the bootleg. This time he sets up in the pocket, gets the defense to bite up on the play fake, and drops the ball in between the safety and the corner to Olsen for a big gain.
And Lewis Delmas, the safety, the rookie safety, chasing him down. Now 2 tight ends in on 1st and goal from the 10. The red zone, other than last Monday night, has been trouble for Chicago with turnovers or penalties as Bell carries. It'll be 2nd down, and as a quarterback, obviously the field shrinks down here. But Jay Cutler has said, look, I just try to make plays happen. I don't want to try and settle for field goals.
Well, and that's why he placed the importance about Devin Aromashadu. He says it gives me a big receiver, gives me a tall guy. If I can throw a fade up in the end zone, or if it's a contended with a safety and a linebacker, throw the ball high and let a big receiver go get it.
Earl Bennett comes out on the left. Greg Olsen, his tight end, splits way out to the right. And Bell lines up as a receiver. Pass is low for Bennett, bounced into the turf and incomplete. Not a good throw.
Not a good throw, and you wonder why Olsen is split out wide and you have a running back split in the slot. Where's Devin Aromashadu? He's coming on the field now, getting into the huddle, giving him that extra weapon, but now it's 3rd and 10, so you know Detroit figures they're going to throw a pass here, unless you try running a draw or a screen and get them to bite on that. But get Devin Aromashadu on the field in the red zone.
1 for 4 on 3rd downs so far. And Aromashadu is in the game for Cutler on 3rd and goal. Jay Cutler, end zone, incomplete. It was for Devin Aromashadu, but the Lions were expecting it.
They were expecting it, and many times you think Gunther Cunningham, the defensive coordinator for Detroit, is going to bring a lot of pressure. He decides to rush 3 and drop 8 into coverage. you'll see Aroma Shadu right here. They're only going to rush 3 defenders and drop 8 into coverage, and that makes it. We talked about those windows and about everything getting tighter and closer down in the red zone. When you drop 8 defenders, you really have to be accurate with that throw.
Marvin White was back there defending as Robbie Gould comes on and delivers. Devin Hester set up that Bears field goal with his kickoff return. He hasn't had one run back for a touchdown since 2007. 11 career returns when you combine punts and kickoffs. As Robbie Gould's field goal is the difference so far, and returning for the Lions again is Derek Williams. And Williams gets up around the 29-yard line to give the Lions offense better field position. The Bear defense, they have started now their 6th different combination of safeties. As Danielle Manning with a calf injury is out. Al Afalava out with a knee injury. So Craig Stelz, his 2nd NFL start. Kevin Payne is back off the ankle injury. And on the corners, Nathan Vasher starting for Tillman and Zach Bowman. And we'll see Corey Graham quite a bit as well. Maurice Morris in the backfield on 1st and 10 for the Lions. Morris gets it and spins forward for a couple to the 33.5-yard line.
And knowing that that has been a problem of this Bears defense, stopping the run. You look, Maurice Morris right now is averaging, in this game, he's averaging over 5 yards a carry, and they've had some problems and some inconsistencies in the passing game. So I think initially and right now, they're going to need to lean on the running game and then use the passing game as a complement.
2nd down 6, and Culpepper believes he still could be a starter in the NFL. Not here, but needs to prove it. Aaron Brown in motion. They give him the football around the left side. And Aaron Brown spins across the 45-yard line.
And that's one way to utilize the running game. Put a running back out in the slot, do a run fake, get an around to get the defense to flow. If you find a defense that is flowing really hard to the ball, then you can get him in with a misdirection. He's in motion. He's coming behind. They're going to fake the run up the middle. You see the defensive end. You can see Alex Brown bite down on the run fake. He loses contain. He gives Aaron Brown the ability to get around the edge.
A 13-yard pickup just short of the 46 of Detroit on 1st and 10. Here comes Brown again in motion. They give it to him the other way. And this time the Bears were ready for it. Maybe a yard on the play as Nick Roach ran him down.
Well, anytime you find a play that's working, it's unusual to go back-to-back plays with it.
He actually picked up 5 yards.
But if you find a play that's working and you're going to get 5 yards a pop or more, go ahead and go back to the well. You can see Mark Anderson, the defensive end on the other side, does the same thing. He bites as well and loses contain for Aaron Brown to get around the edge.
So on 2nd down, Culpepper with a couple of successful runs. And somebody jumps here. Movement penalty flag.
They're going to get Calvin Johnson in the slot moving. Even though the Bears' defensive line was moving, Calvin Johnson in the slot was the first one to move. They're going to get that every time.
And the Bears did not make contact.
Offense, number 81. 5-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
Yeah, does all that finger pointing, does that help at all down on the field?
That does nothing. That does nothing. They want to try and convince, especially the officials that are close to that, that hey, this guy flinched, this guy moved, he made first contact. It's all good gesturing for the cameras, but I don't think it has any impact on the officials.
The official's mind is made up as Calvin Johnson gets back into place on 2nd and 11. He's on the near side, lower part of your screen for Culpepper. It's a passing situation. He's going to run it instead. And that's Maurice Morris. Penalty flag flies as he has a nice run down to the 35-yard line of Chicago. And the flag back where Culpepper is standing, and he's waving his arms. The Lions just aren't a good enough football team.
Offense, number 65. 10-yard penalty. Replay, 2nd down.
Well, and you look at the flow of this drive. They were able to run. They were able to run the ball very well. They're in a 2nd and 5 situation. You see right here, he tackles him and brings him down. They're going to call that every time. But now instead of being a 2nd and 5, you get an offsides to go to 2nd and 10. Now you have a holding penalty and you're 2nd and 20. And these are the problems that the Lions have faced all year. It's too many mistakes with penalties and turnovers.
Dylan Gandy called for the infraction, negating a 17-yard gain. Aaron Brown checks in. That's Calvin Johnson in motion. And Culpepper looks to throw, has time, now he's on the move. And he's going to keep it, slide down around the 40-41-yard line. It'll bring up 3rd and long. And let's check in with Jennifer Hammond down on the field for an injury report.
Yeah, Chris, Jamar Williams, the linebacker, just went into the Bears locker room. They're going to take a look at him. His return is questionable. He has a back injury. He was actually injured on that 44-yard kick return by Devin Hester. So they're hoping to get some news on him and get him back.
Thanks, Jennifer. A backup to Lance Briggs. Tim Shaw has played well, backup linebacker on special teams for Chicago. Hunter Hillenmeyer has done a nice job at the middle linebacker spot with, of course, the early injury to Brian Urlacher, which affected this entire Bears defense. And they'll be coming, no doubt, on 3rd and 16. Culpepper completes to his tight end, Will Heller. Penalty flag flies in as the play ends. And it came from the secondary.
It looks like they're going to be calling offensive pass interference, but a good job by the Detroit offensive players picking up that initial blitz, giving Culpepper time to buy time in the pocket, roll out, and find the open receiver, but they're going to get him with an offensive pass interference.
See if we can figure out or get a number on who exactly the officiating crew is.
Pass interference. Offense, number 89, blocking downfield on a pass. That penalty has been declined. 4th down.
And it was on Will Heller who made the catch. It'll bring up a 4th down situation, so a little better field position, but the Bears figure why give him another shot.
Well, and this was an interesting decision because Lovey was gambling on the fact that Coach Jim Schwartz wasn't going to go for this 4th and 3, instead was going to punt and play the field position game. I think with the score at 6-3 Bears, Jim Schwartz is going to be conservative and try and play the field position game and pin the Bears down in their own end.
They do have a fake punt in their arsenal, one that they have not used much. And in this situation, Nick Harris will boot it away, and Devin Hester will let it bounce and go into the end zone. Lovie Smith, the Chicago Bears head coach, in his 6th season, his 53 wins overall, 3rd most in franchise history behind George Halas and Mike Ditka. And 2 years remaining on a contract. That's been a hot topic of discussion as the Bears this year, a disappointment after acquiring Jay Cutler.
And Levy didn't want to talk about it. We tried bringing it up. We tried asking him about his coordinators. He said, let's focus on Detroit. When the season ends, we'll discuss that.
Matt Forte is back in at running back and squirms up the middle for a healthy gain to the 25-yard line on 1st down. And Jay Cutler, it was as if the team adjusted around him on offense. Rather, at first they tried to just fit him in. And it seemed on Monday night in a big win against Minnesota, it all came together. Here, a little choppy. Cutler 7 of 14 so far on 2nd down 5. Stumbles from the snap, hands off to Forte. It'll be 3rd down. It's as if the Bears have recommitted to the run here.
And Jay Cutler starting off the game with the first five pass attempts were 5 completions, and now there hasn't been any real rhythm or any real flow to this Bears offense. You remember that first drive they went down and got the field goal. Since then they've had a lot of punts. Of course, Devin Hester's kickoff return set up the last field goal, but they just haven't had a lot of continuity. They did get the big pass play to Greg Olsen off the play action, but not a whole lot of rhythm from the Bears offense.
1 catch for Devin Aromashadu on 3rd and 5. Penalty flag before the play. He is able to take shape, but it's going to be against the Bears.
And I know this is the total around the league as far as your production.
False start. Offense, number 68. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
3rd down production around the league drops drastically when you go 3rd and 5 to 3rd and 10. But this has been a real problem spot for the Bears this year, is 3rd and long or 3rd and 6 or more. And it was one of the inconsistencies that Lovie Smith talked to us about, was the penalties and getting put in 3rd down situations, and they haven't converted a high enough rate.
Frank Omiyale playing the guard position, left guard position this year, the first time in his career, a regular at that spot, called for the penalty. 3rd and 10, crowd picking up a little bit for Detroit. Let's see what Cutler can come out with. Hester has yet to catch a pass in the game, and he is lined up on the left side. Cutler looks that way. The ball is loose, and Greg Olsen falls on it. So the Bears maintain possession.
And that's Julian Peterson told us that when we talked with him the other day. You get him in 3rd and long, you're able to put pressure on Jay Cutler and attempt to turn the ball over, whether it be through an interception or here with a sack fumble.
Well, this is one of those plays where you said Cutler likes moving around in the pocket. Here he's standing in the pocket.
He's standing in the pocket, and you're relying your running back. You're relying on Matt Forte to step up and make the block on Cliff Averill. And when you get a defensive end on a running back, generally that works to the advantage of the defense.
Averill with 4.5 sacks. He was the guy who applied the heat and knocked the ball out, so the Bears stall. And Maynard in the punt last time was off the mark when it went out of bounds. A wobbly kick that is handled by Northcutt, and Dennis Northcutt down to the 42-43 yard line of the Chicago Bears. And Jim Schwartz looking on, frustrated with his offense. By the way, this is a Chuck McDonald, Greg Scopatone production. And
it looks like he's calmed down a little bit right here after being so upset about the spot of the ball. But I think he's got to like this field position.
And looking for some production from Maurice Morris. Met hard right away and thrown down. Anthony Adams just gobbled him up.
You get interior penetration on the offensive line. You have no chance to make a cut, to find a lane. Anthony Adams does a great job of shedding the blocker, making contact in the backfield, and you can see when that big boy wraps up, you're not going to get out of it.
For as much as you talk about the Bears having been run on, certainly in this game, other than running wide with Aaron Brown, Detroit hasn't had a lot of success. And now on 2nd and 12, Culpepper has to throw it and goes underneath to Morris. Sure-handed. The Bears, the Lions, longtime rivals. You know, earlier in the year when they met at Chicago and the Bears won 48-24, that was obviously a wildly active offensive game. That's how short they are. And this appears to be a little bit more of a defensive struggle so far. Of course, that game was tied at the half, and then Chicago got a big return and took over in the second half to win.
Well, and that's, you look back at that first matchup, and as you mentioned, it was tied at 21 at the half. So you're talking about some offensive explosion. Matthew Stafford had a great first half that game. Coming back in the second half of that game, Chicago Bears defense, they held Detroit to -8 yards in the 3rd quarter, and Detroit only had 3 points in the second half. So that was the type of defensive performance that Lovie Smith wanted his troops to focus on, was the second half of that game and not the first.
And the Lions here trying to convert against Lovie Smith's defense on 3rd and 1. They failed when they were in this short yardage position last time when Jim Schwartz was upset about the mark of the football. Culpepper keeps it, and it looks like he got it, although let's wait for Schwartz and the official to work out the spot. All right, he got it. So that's the first down for the Lions. They're now 1 for 5 in the game. Of the fans, you know, this is a sold-out crowd. I know it's a lot of Bear fans here as well, but it's nice that they turned out and get a smattering of applause for Dante Culpepper.
And I'm not sure if Dante still weighs his 260, 270 like he did earlier in his career, but he definitely has the weight behind him and the drive in his legs to pick up that short down and distance.
He is thick, as they say, on 1st and 10. Bears threatening as if they are going to blitz. They do. Picked up. Culpepper completes to Felton, the fullback, and another Lions first down.
Great job by the offensive line. They do the play fake. Culpepper looks down the field, takes a deep drop back. You can see the shell that the offensive line gives him. It's a nice pocket for Dante Culpepper to stay in, and he's able to go through his progressions, go through his reads, hit his check down. When the defensive players are buzzing out of there, just hit your check down, and they're able to pick up another first down and get into the red zone, which they've had a problem doing all season long.
Trailing 6-3 here in the 2nd quarter. 4:10 to go. They pitch to Morris. Not a lot of running room, but he fights hard for maybe a yard or two.
Another good job by the Chicago defense getting penetration in the backfield, messing with the running lanes for the Detroit Lions.
And an injury, and it's Nathan Vasher who started in place of Charles Tillman. We're back in Detroit. Jim Schwartz said this would be a much more physical meeting than the earlier meeting between these two teams.
And right now with the score 6-3, it has been one of those battles. It's been a game of field position. It's been a game of penetration, stopping the running game. There have been turnovers. Here is Nick Roach right here, 53. You can see the line of the Detroit Lions. Someone falls into Nick's legs as he's blocking or contained with another player, and that never works out well. It's good to see him get up and walk off the field. But when you have that happen as a player, you don't have any control of that.
A productive year from Nick Roach. Darryl McGlover likely to come in at that linebacker spot. We could see Jamar Williams, who has been hurt, but Jamar Williams is going to come in, at least on this play, and cover for Nick Roach. And the Vasher injury will update as well. On 2nd and 10 for the Lions, Maurice Morris has had half of the touches in 22 plays for Detroit. Brian Johnson. And that'll bring up a 2nd down as Bullocks makes the play. Make that 3rd down.
I'd like to see Detroit take a shot at Calvin Johnson here. I know that the Bears have been favoring with a safety over the top, getting some one-on-one looks. When you have a big physical receiver like Calvin Johnson, I'd like to see Detroit take a shot at him here in the red zone.
Yeah, for the Bears, there's 6 different starting combo at the safety position, as we talked about. Jamar Williams in for Roach at linebacker on 3rd and 5 for the Lions. Culpepper, end zone, touchdown Lions. It's Brian Johnson.
If it's not one Johnson, it's the other.
Well, you talked about needing somebody other than Calvin Johnson to step up and be a target for Culpepper, and this is a good place for Brian Johnson to do it.
And they thought that Brian Johnson was going to be that guy. So far this year, that hasn't happened. Brian Johnson right here in the slot. He takes an inside release. Hunter Hillenmeyer, the middle linebacker, you can see is influenced and is working to the strong side of the field with his drop back. Calvin Johnson happened to be to the right, so that may be why the defense was rolling that way. Good job by Culpepper finding that backside window and getting the ball into Brian Johnson.
Hanson's extra point is good. A 12-yard touchdown pass, the 2nd of this season for Culpepper. And for Brian Johnson, a grab that allows the Lions to take the lead. His 3rd touchdown catch of the year.
And that's the first Lions touchdown pass since, what was it, December 6th against Cincinnati when Matthew Stafford was in the game. So this is good news for the Detroit Lions, getting their passing game going, getting a passing touchdown, and taking advantage of the good field position that they received.
You talk about young players playing for jobs to stay in the league or stay on a roster. For Culpepper, he wants to start somewhere in the NFL. He still believes as an 11-year veteran he can, and so far with what he's done in Detroit, he hasn't at least shown much of that.
That's right. He's looking for an opportunity to play somewhere in the league. He hasn't played real well while he's been here in Detroit. Everybody remembers what happened on Thanksgiving Day when he was the starter, and then all of a sudden Stafford comes back. They name him the starter right before kickoff. Dante didn't handle that situation very well. He took a lot of public criticism the way he handled that, but now he's getting another opportunity to play, to showcase himself for other teams around the league, because it's pretty clear he won't be back here in Detroit to back up Matthew Stafford.
And Devin Hester hoping to showcase those return abilities. He's doing double duty on kick and punt off returns for Hanson, the kickoff, as Hester takes it at his 5. He spins out to the 25-yard line as Jim Schwartz watches Jake Nordine make the play. Jim Schwartz said, we can be careful kicking to him. We not necessarily kick it away, but kick it in a way where we defend what he does best. As Jay Cutler takes the field.
I'm excited to see Jay Cutler in this situation. There's under 3 minutes to go in the half. They're now trailing, which they haven't trailed all day. This may work well for Cutler in this offense.
7 out of 14 so far. A guy who has battled juvenile diabetes through his career, had it under control in Denver. Continues here with Chicago. Kind of a forgotten factor for Cutler. On 1st and 10, the quick pass, and it is complete to Devin Aromashadu. And that is his 2nd catch of the game. And you know, they check the blood sugar at the end of each quarter, periodically through the course of the game, the staff, to make sure on Jay Cutler. But they have said that he's done such a good job of preparing himself for what is necessary to get through a game, that they don't have to worry about. Otherwise, give him a little, sugar in a drink to keep it up to levels that are necessary. Hurt his hand on that previous play.
And it's hard enough as a quarterback just the in and out of playing the position every day, practice games, but dealing with diabetes the way Jay Cutler is, you have to give him credit for handling things as well as he does.
And the pass on 2nd down, complete for a 1st down. Jay Cutler is tough mentally and physically, as the catch made by Desmond Clark coming off his best game Jay Cutler has his diabetes under control, but a minor hand injury that will show you how it happened. It has been attended to, and as of right now, not affecting his play at the 2-minute mark on 1st and 10 with Matt Forte in the backfield. Cutler down the middle for this tight end, and he's got it. That's Olsen again. Chicago does have 2 timeouts remaining. So Cutler 7 out of 17, 6 different receivers, nothing so far to Devin Hester. Trying to move the offense here. Clock running, 1:35 to play. Pressure coming, quick pass to Aroma Shadu, who gets a couple. Lions are there to stop him. Ernie Sims led the way.
But even though Devin Hester doesn't have a catch today, he stretches the field and he makes the defense honor that speed.
What a hit by Ernie Sims. After a 4-yard pickup, clock continues to run, 1:10. Penalty flag. Let's get the call from Jerome Boger, 6th year in the NFL as a referee.
False start, offense, number 68. 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
Frank Omayel with the penalty. Let's go back to the hand injury.
And this happens a lot of time for quarterbacks. As the pocket closes around, you see on his follow through, he hits his hand on Chris Williams' helmet, and you can see the blood on the back of his hand. He went over, and people are like, well, how do you get the back of your hand? Well, when you're rotating after you throw, he hit the back of his hand against either the face mask or the chin strap of his tackle.
Medical staff tended to it during a timeout here on 2nd and 10 after the penalty, and nobody there. I don't mean no Chicago Bear within miles.
I don't know if he had a miscommunication with Greg Olsen. He was really the only one within 20 yards of that ball. If he thought Greg Olsen was going to continue up the seam, and Greg snapped it off at about 10 yards, whereas Jay had already thrown the ball.
Olsen with 3 catches so far in the game. There's a look from Cutler's point of view, way over the head if it was intended, and maybe the hand injury is bothering him a little bit. On 3rd and 10. Cutler complete inside the 30. He's got Earl Bennett for a Chicago 1st down and in field goal range.
The hand wasn't bothering him on that throw. Quarterbacks don't like hearing those excuses. They just want to keep firing it, and I'm sure Jay wouldn't want to use that as an excuse either.
And heat on this Chicago staff, so Lovie Smith, Jay Cutler, the Bears want a strong finish to their season. Trying to win their 7th game. Cutler steps up, throws and completes. A nice catch made by Devin Hester, his 1st of the game, and it is another 1st down.
And in talking with the players about Lovie Smith, how do you respond? How do you support Lovie Smith? They said the way you support Lovie Smith is you go out and you play well. You play hard and you play well. There doesn't need to be any talking about it. Guys know if you want to help out your head coach, you play well.
14-yard pickup, 1 timeout remaining. Jay Cutler from the pocket completes. They may have to burn it here as Earl Bennett hangs on. And at the 22nd mark, they use their final timeout.
And you have to give credit to this Detroit defense. Even though Chicago at times today has been able to move the ball and get into the red zone, get into the scoring position, they've done a great job of keeping the Bears out of the end zone. And now with no timeouts, is there enough time to get the field goal unit on the field if you don't get in the end zone? This is a tough spot because at 20 seconds, you practice that all the time as an offense and as a special teams unit, getting your unit on the field. How quickly can you run a play and get that field goal unit on the field if you don't have a timeout? So this is really kind of right on the borderline of being able to get that done.
Robbie Gould 2 for 2 in the field goal department today. Those are all of Chicago's points. So the closest they've come to scoring was a pass in the end zone for Aroma Shadu, and he may be the target here with Devin Hester in the game as he lines up Aroma Shadu on the left side, lower part of your screen. 2nd and goal, 2nd and 5, I should say. Cutler for the end zone, back of the end zone, tipped away. He was looking for his tight end Olsen, but William James made sure he couldn't get to it.
And the key there on 2nd down was James taking away the flat route to Matt Forte, falling back into coverage once the throw was made and being able to jump up. You can see James covering the flat, sees Forte. He gets Cutler to think he can get the corner route in there. Does a good job, James does, of recovering and knocking that ball away.
3 catches in the game for Olson. 15 seconds left, no timeouts on 3rd down and 5, so they technically can get a first down and not a touchdown, but time is the enemy for the Bears offense, and the Lions use a timeout here.
And really now at 15 seconds, you have to throw the ball in the end zone. There's really no time for the special teams unit to get on the field and attempt a field goal if you don't get into the end zone. On the last play being 2nd down, even though you don't have a timeout, you could rally the offense and spike the ball, but now you can't spike the ball because it'll be 4th down. So they've got to take a shot into the end zone. There's plenty of time. Even if Cutler wants to scramble around on this play, he's got 15 seconds. It isn't going to be a Colt McCoy situation where he scrambles around and may run out of time.
But he has the time. What you don't want, Trent, it's obvious, but it's something that Cutler has battled with, the interceptions down here, because you want to at least come away with the opportunity of the field goal.
Exactly, Chris. And red zone interceptions has been a problem as well, trying to force the ball in situations. We'll see what Cutler comes up with here.
Jay Cutler, end zone, Olson, and is he in the end zone? Touchdown! He is right on the goal line. And Cutler delivers.
Great job by Jay with his throw, with his placement of the pass, but you've got to give even more credit to Greg Olson. He goes up to the goal line, does a simple out route. Jay puts that ball high and hard to the outside. Give the credit to Olson for bringing that ball in, using his hands. A lot of times that ball gets tipped up and gets intercepted. Greg Olson deserves all the credit there.
And to get it into the end zone, the extra point by Gold is good. That was Jordan Dizon covering and trying to keep Olson out of the end zone.
I'm sure if you talk to Jordan, he's going to say there was a little push off there. You can see at the top of that route, Greg Olson used some of his forearm to get a little separation. So I'm sure that's what Detroit will be arguing with that play. But it doesn't matter. They didn't call the play, and now the Bears put it in the end zone with 11 seconds to go in the half.
So Jay Cutler, the bloody hand, the hot hand. And for Greg Olson, his 8th touchdown catch of the season. The former Miami Hurricane, 1st-round draft pick, with Desmond Clark providing an excellent tight end combination. You know, you think about the Bears' offensive line healthy, with their receivers healthy, with Devin Hester back, just as you said, being a force, providing opportunity for Earl Bennett and Aroma Shadu. Johnny Knox, who the rookie has 45 catches, inactive for this game. A lot of weapons for Jay Cutler to look forward to in the next year.
And that's what Lovie Smith talked to us about. He said there are a lot of weapons. The disappointing thing for him was the inconsistency. They had trouble converting 3rd downs. They clearly had trouble with turnovers this year. But the one point that Lovie also wanted to make was not being able to finish games. And this is going to be a close game. So far throughout this first half, it's been a back-and-forth defensive battle.
Gold kicks off to Derek Williams, who's back inside his own end zone. And Williams goes down at the 15. 7 seconds remaining here before halftime. So both quarterbacks respond after kind of a choppy, inconsistent opening quarter, each with a touchdown pass here as we get ready for the first half to close out.
And Dante Culpepper did a good job responding. That very first series, he had the interception where there was a miscommunication with Calvin Johnson. Does a good job with the field possession he had last series to get the ball in the end zone to finish off the half strong.
Trent Green, Chris Myers, Jennifer Hammond here at Ford Field. It is a sellout crowd. They're getting to see a competitive game. The Bears leading by the score of 13-10 to open the 3rd quarter. And the season finale with a half to go. Detroit trailing by 3, and Williams out across the 22-23 yard line. Let's check it down on the field with Jennifer.
And Chris, one of the things that Jim Schwartz told me at halftime that he wants to see from his offense in the second half is to avoid some big penalties. He said we are in way too many 2nd and 20 situations. He does like the way that Dante Culpepper was able to avoid the pressure and get out of the pocket a little bit. As for the Bears, Lovie Smith said he wants to see a little more of an urgency to get some turnovers defensively.
And Dante Culpepper, Jennifer, 15 out of 24. I'm sorry, make that 11 out of 8 of 11 so far, as Maurice Morris carries. And Morris has been busy. That's his 10th carry of the game. Culpepper has rushed 3 times. Again, Culpepper 8 of 11 so far in the game. He does have the touchdown and the interception. And again, this may be his last game as a member of the Detroit Lions.
This is his opportunity to showcase himself for other teams. He's had some inconsistencies during his career here in Detroit, but against this defense of the Bears, it's an opportunity for him to showcase himself around the league.
Hunter Hillenmeyer looking on as Culpepper slides down at about the 31-yard line.
When you get into a negative play on first down, it really puts a tough spot for Scott Linehan, the offensive coordinator for the Lions, to come up with plays. Now you're 2nd and 15. On first down, you get the 5-yard sack, you get the 6-yard sack. Now all of a sudden you're in a long down and distance. The play prior with Maurice Morris getting a 12-yard run on first down, finding that balance and being able to run the ball effectively. Now you have to get yourself in a makeable 3rd down.
And Calvin Johnson with 1 catch so far. Down at the bottom of your screen, that's the right side for Culpepper. He looks to the left side, fakes, and under pressure, Mark Anderson had him in his grasp. He had to get rid of him. It'll be 3rd down.
Good job by Dante getting rid of the ball and not taking another sack, which would have put him in a really an unmanageable 3rd down at that down and distance. Good job finding a receiver and being able to get the ball out of his hands. But you got to give credit to the Bears defense, putting pressure on Dante and covering his initial receiver that made him bounce outside the pocket.
So the Bear defense with a 3rd and 15, hoping to bottle up Culpepper and get the ball back for Cutler. First possession of the 3rd quarter, and he dumps it off. That's Morris, who will be short. And the Lions will be forced to punt as Lance Briggs, the team captain and going to his 5th Pro Bowl, there to make the tackle.
And that has been a mainstay of the Lovie Smith defenses. When you get in 3rd and long situations, to drop a lot of people into coverage, make them throw underneath, and then you could see just the entire defensive troop come flying in there and rally to the ball to make the tackle and keep them short of the 1st down.
Devin Hester, who set up a field goal with 1 dazzling return, double duty again today if you tuned in late. Fake, and the Lions will fall short. The ball comes out at the end of the play. They're not going to get the 1st down, and they may not have the football. And it was Calvin Pearson. And an interesting time for a fake from Jim Schwartz and the Lions.
Well, it's an interesting time because not only are you on your own field, they had 4th and 8. It wasn't like it was a 1 or 2 yards to go, so that's a lot of yards to try and get, especially on a running play up the gut of the defense to try and pick up on 4th down.
Well, if you weren't expecting it, maybe Jim Schwartz figured, given those circumstances, the Bears weren't, but you got to give the Bears special teams credit for being alert and on top of it.
Give them credit for knowing that. This game is only a 3-point game. It'll be on the shoulders of this defense to try and, number one, keep them out of the end zone, keep them out of any points, but now you're at a disadvantage with the field position.
So Culpepper on 1st down, or Cutler, I should say, on 1st down, throws incomplete for Earl Bennett. And there were chances with Culpepper in the 1st half on shorter yardage and 4th down where you figure whether they go for it or even fake a punt. But in this case, it could turn the game around.
It was interesting to see the play call there of the Bears on 1st down. I think they were anticipating defensive coordinator Gunther Cunningham coming out and putting pressure on. Instead, they went to a cover 2 with 2 safeties deep, both corners rolling. So they tried doing a quick 3-step throw.
And Matt Forte gets to the 30-yard line. He'll be just short. It'll bring up 3rd and about 1.5 yards. And for Matt Forte, we talked about the running game. That's his 9th carry of the game.
We talked about their 3rd down conversions. We talked with Jay Cutler about it. We talked to Lovie Smith about it. This is a manageable 3rd down. 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. This is what you expect your team. If you want to be a running team, they have 2 tight ends in the game now and a fullback. If you want to be a running team, this is where you have to pick it up.
And that's where they go for the 1st down, and a lot more. Still powering to the 22.5-yard line of the Detroit Lions. That was with great conviction.
Great job by the up front. Good job by the offensive line. Creating a hole for Matt Forte. He gets through to that 2nd level, basically untouched. Good job by the Bears offensive line and by the fullback to create that spot. McKee does a good job of creating that lane for Forte to pick up the first down.
Matt Forte remains in. 9 carries, 28 yards for Forte. He'll get the carry again, and this time goes nowhere as Julian Peterson makes the stop. You see scores in the upper right-hand corner, and the Rams are leading against San Francisco. If you're worried about the #1 draft pick, of course, the Lions would have to lose and the Rams win for Detroit to have that opportunity. There's the current standings coming into this final regular season weekend. St. Louis, remember, beat the Lions in head-to-head play, so that would be the tiebreaker if they wind up that way. On 2nd and 9, Cutler gets rid of it and almost intercepted. It was over the head of Greg Olsen, and Louis Delmas, the all-everything rookie, was there.
Good job by Cliff Averill coming off the edge for the Lions and putting pressure on Cutler and making him throw that ball much quicker than what he wanted to do. He put that ball up really early. You can see Averill's going to be coming off of the edge. He gets over the block of McKee or Forte that tries to chop him down. He has to throw that ball quicker. When you throw the ball and you're trying to anticipate that throw, you don't get the separation that was happening earlier in the game.
Averill, tremendous pressure. A missed opportunity on a pick for Delmas on 3rd and 9. Here comes pressure. He got rid of it quickly, and that's Devin Hester. And look out. Inside the 10 for a first down. If he had slipped that tackle, he would have been dancing in the end zone.
And that's where his speed comes into play. Good job by the Bears recognizing that there was going to be pressure from the Detroit Lions, getting the ball out of Cutler's hands quick, letting those defensive linemen get upfield to get the quick throw. If you have a defense that's very aggressive and very over pursuing, get the ball out of your hands quick and try and get those quick screens to the outside, those quick throws, those look patterns or hot patterns to the outside receivers, and try and catch it, or you can hit him with the screen.
His second catch of the day. He had 54 catches, the leading receiver, before Devin Hester went out with the calf injury. Cutler for Aroma Shadu, and that is a touchdown, Bears.
Well, there's our red zone pass to Aroma Shadu. Aroma Shadu has one-on-one coverage, gives him a step to the outside.
From one Devin to the other, it's what you talked about in the open, and this combo when both are healthy and out there. And that way, it wasn't a 3rd down situation. It was an early look for Aroma Shadu in the end zone. And with the extra point from Robbie Gould, the Bears add to their lead. A 7-play, 39-yard drive, and there is Devin Aroma Shadu, the big Monday night game, and now a touchdown catch. Dolphins, Colts, Texans kicked around on different teams, even Washington in his 3rd year out of Auburn. And Jay Cutler has requested for him, want him in the lineup more when he's healthy, as Gould boots it. And again, it'll be Derek Williams. And Derek Williams has some room across the 35-yard line. Sold out at Ford Field, and a happy new year from all of us to all of you and the great football fans watching. On defense here, Nick Roach is out with the bad back, so Jamar Williams is coming at linebacker to help out, and Nathan Vasher back in at corner for the Bears as Culpepper and the Lions have it on 1st and 10. And a pass for Bryant Johnson is incomplete.
William James thinks he's going to get help from the safety, lets him go, and they're able to convert that for a touchdown, which is what the Bears weren't doing earlier in the game.
So a 10-point lead, and here Morris gets a yard or two maybe. A 10-point lead over Culpepper and the Lions here in the 3rd quarter. On 3rd down, Dante is on the move, and the Bears are going to get it. Stopped at the 30-yard line. He escaped at first, but Alex Brown and Mark Anderson ended up swarming him. Alex Brown tack on another sack, giving him +5 for the year.
The pass protection of the Lions isn't good enough. We talked about the inconsistency on the Chicago offensive line. The inconsistencies on Detroit's offensive line is equally as bad. And they've had so many different guys in the rotation. You can see Calvin Johnson works his way into the window there between the corner and the safety.
Nick Harris's punt to Devin Hester. He spins down at the 29-yard line. Jay Cutler, when the Bears with a 10-point lead. Cutler, when he started the game today, became only the 5th quarterback in Bears history to start all 16 games since they went to that schedule. Zach Zaidman of the Bears Radio Network discussing that before the game. And with his completions, he is the all-time completion leader in a single season for the Bears, and second on the all-time yardage list. Second most yards in a single season behind Eric Kramer. And Forte carries. Penalty flag as he gets to the 40 and across.
And you can see the Bears are trying much harder this half to establish the run.
Holding, offense, number 57. 10-yard penalty, replay, second down.
That's the veteran center Olin Kreutz, who made headlines calling out the organization from top to bottom. But you talked to him about that, smiling all the way.
Oh, yeah. Olin Kreutz was the guy that took a lot of criticism. He was surprised by the amount of criticism that he took after his comments that things needed to change from top to bottom as far as improvement. And what he was really talking about, he wasn't calling anybody specifically out. He was just saying that people had to perform better. There had to be some responsibility. And when it was brought up that his play had dropped by the media, he said, well, no kidding. He's like, I've been playing for 12 years. Of course my play's going to drop off some. Tell me something I don't know.
But how far did it drop for a guy still playing at a high level? He defended Lovie Smith. Lovie Smith defended him. And Jay Cutler wants to discuss things, calling a timeout. An oddity here at two centers on opposing teams, Olin Kreutz and Dominic Raiola, who went to high school together and had success on a football team in Honolulu, Hawaii.
And they were neighbors and friends growing up. You can see the two of them talking here, and next to him in the orange shirt is Dominic's younger brother Donovan, who's on the practice squad. But the funny thing is they're talking about Pop Warner football and growing up together. They said Dominic was telling us, you know what, Olin was too fat to play, so they wouldn't let him play Pop Warner. He would come out to the practices and get some practice in, but once he lost that weight, he was able to get on the field.
And Olin Kreutz has made a lot of tough calls to help out Jay Cutler, who steps up after the timeout, has time, but is going to take it himself. Slides down at the 23-yard line. People don't realize, too, even when a quarterback comes in, a veteran center has to help make calls up front, obviously, aside from stabilizing the huddle sometimes.
Well, and that's something that Olin Kreutz is very comfortable with. He knows that's been part of this offense, part of what his responsibility is as a leader of that group, trying to get everybody on the same page. But he was very upfront with saying our offensive line has not played well enough this week or this year. And he thought they played very well as a unit. It was an example of them being able to beat Minnesota last week.
On second down and 15, Matt Forte remains in the backfield. Devin Hester is down at the bottom part of your screen on the left for Cutler as the run goes nowhere short of the 25-yard line. It'll bring up 3rd and long, so a good opportunity for the Lions defense, trailing by 10 in this game.
And this would give them good field position. If they're able to hold them here, the Bears are going to be punting from inside their own 20, so you're giving good field position to your offense. At this point in the game, down by 10, you need this stop for your defense.
NFL doubleheader weekend, we call that a pop-up in the industry, and Cowboys-Eagles is what most of you will see. That's a little TV term, Trent. You see that slide? That I'm not supposed to comment on it, but you know it's a big game. So I think it'll decide.
We need to comment on it. There's a lot going on, a lot of value in that game.
Here goes Cutler on 3rd down. They'll try the screen to Forte, and the Lions were ready for it. Excellent defensive play by Anthony Henry from his corner spot, the extra defensive back end. So a punting situation facing Chicago.
And Anthony Henry with a great open field tackle. Matt Forte, if he gets around Anthony Henry, he's going to get that first down. Good job by Anthony Henry, the veteran, coming up, wrapping him up, not being able to let him get the first down. So this should counter as good field position for Detroit.
Brad Maynard standing inside his 13-yard line, and Dennis Northcutt is back, the veteran receiver and return man for the Lions from the 28 of Detroit, and he goes nowhere. Rod Marinelli, defensive line coach for the Chicago Bears, back here in this building for the first time since being the head coach of the Detroit Lions. 3 years in that position. And looking on as Culpepper runs it to Morris on 1st down.
Good discipline by the Bears defense to stay at home there and not bite on that around, which the Lions have done a couple times today. They gave that ball to Aaron Brown a couple times earlier on that around after faking it to the tailback. But good discipline by Lance Briggs and Alex Brown to stay at home.
And we just saw Rod Marinelli. So the winless season, the Lions are trying to win their 3rd game of the year. It's important in front of a sellout crowd here at Ford Field to finish strong. Trent, this is a spot where you can't play it safe. They were aggressive on the fake punt. It backfired. But they need 2 scores, trailing here in the 3rd as they run it. So it'll bring up 3rd down for Culpepper. Anthony Adams making the stop.
Right, you can't go completely haywire because there was when this possession started 6 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter. It's a 10-point game, but you do have to pick your moments to take those shots, and they have tried to do that in the previous series. The problem is they haven't protected Culpepper, and he's taken sacks for loss, and then all of a sudden you're in a long down and distance. So. This is a manageable 3rd down that they've got to convert to try and get some momentum going and give their defense a break.
On 3rd down and 6, they're 2 of 8 on 3rd down tries for Calvin Johnson. Were his feet in? Yes, it's a catch and a 1st down.
Not the most accurate throw for Dante Culpepper, but this is where the athleticism and the size of Calvin Johnson takes over. You can see he has to reach for the ball. Good job bringing the ball in and dragging that back foot to stay in bounds.
And Zach Bowman covering there is about 6'1", and Calvin Johnson is 6'5" and a little more when you stand next to him. So the mismatch. Aaron Brown, they fake to. Culpepper down the middle, and he completes to Calvin Johnson inside the 40. Hunter Hillenmeyer on the stop.
They dialed into that play fake that they ran a couple times earlier with Aaron Brown on the around after the fake handoff to the running back. So what they did there is they did a double fake. They got the linebackers to bite up, getting Calvin Johnson to sit in the window of the lane of the coverage.
Yeah, 3 catches for 50 yards now for Calvin Johnson. Maurice Morris checks in the backfield. A 19-yard pickup gives him a 1st and 10. Culpepper to Morris. Tries to spin out of a tackle from Hillenmeyer and falls down at the 30-yard line. So a healthy pickup on 1st down, and already, although it'd be a long shot in field goal range, we talked about that 2-score difference. It seems like they are aggressively attacking the Bear defense.
Well, what happened is you get the big 3rd down conversion. Calvin Johnson makes a nice catch, drags his feet. You get a good play action pass. The offensive line gives Dante good time. You get the ball up the field to Calvin Johnson. Now you get a good 1st down gain. This is what you need to get some momentum going and get some points on the board.
Maurice Morris, can he get the 1st down? Looked like the Bears stopped him short of it, bringing up a 3rd down.
And this has been a problem spot for Detroit today. Several times today they've had a 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2 that they haven't been able to convert. They've tried running the ball in those occasions. Potentially here you could see a play action pass and try and hit a back in the flat or hit a tight end up the field because of how well the Bears have been doing defensively in this distance.
Yeah, so Morris checks out. Aaron Brown checks in. You've got Jerome Felton, the fullback, who's capable of carrying the football. They're going to throw it, and it is for Brown, who gets near the marker, but the ball floated high in the air, and I don't know. You figure they would go for it even if they didn't get the 1st, but it looks like they're going to send out the field goal team. What, are you kidding?
Well, you can understand the disappointment in the crowd, but you have to. This is a 10-point game. You get this field goal here, it's all of a sudden a 1-possession game. If you go for it on 4th down and miss, you're still in a two-possession game. So I agree with the call, even though it's not a fan favorite. This makes it a 1-possession game if they're able to convert.
So 48-yard attempt for Hanson. He has already hit today. The kick is up there. It's out there, and he hit it. So the Lions get to within 7 with 1:50 to go here in the 3rd quarter. Hanson now 3 for 3. And maybe the fake punt earlier that backfired, Jim Schwartz said, as you just did, Trent, let's take the sure points, and figuring Hanson inside of 50 is sure. As Jason Hanson boots it here. And Hester, they don't kick it away from him from the 5. Does he have room across the 25-yard line, where Jay Cutler and the Bear offense will come back onto the field of play, and there is a penalty flag down. While we get the call,
holding, receiving team, number 29. 10-yard penalty, still first down.
DJ Moore, a backup corner. That'll really push the Bear offense back. A good opportunity for the Lions. While we're talking about officials, Mike Pereira, and I know you played in the league a long time, Trent Green, the head of NFL officials. He's worked well with us on the television networks to help the audience get a better reading on plays and officiating. And retiring this year, we wish him the best. A happy, healthy retirement. He's done a lot for the NFL over the years.
He has done a lot, and being on this side of the field now, getting to know him a little bit and understand the job that these officials do, you give him a lot of credit for getting everybody on the same page.
Cutler going deep for Aromashodu, and it was way short of the 50-yard line. Incomplete. It'll bring up 2nd and 10.
And I think there's no doubt that Jay Cutler has the arm to make that throw. The pocket collapsed on him. He had no room to step up in the pocket. Whether or not he got his arm hit as he was throwing or just limited amount of space in the pocket, he wasn't able to get enough on that ball.
Yeah, now have we seen enough of the moving pocket in this game? Because that seemed to work effectively on Monday night.
It worked very well against Minnesota, and maybe because of the pass rush that Minnesota had, that was the reason it was part of the game plan. But I think just the effectiveness that Cutler has outside of the pocket, it should be part of the game plan.
And Khalil Bell, the rookie from UCLA, who got some carries in the first half with a big run for a first down before Julian Peterson brought him down. Now, I know from Jeff Fisher's defense, Jim Schwartz plays his defensive ends out wider than some defenses do. Does that have an effect on the kind of rolling or moving pocket we're talking about?
Well, it shouldn't be, because you either get a tight end or a back out there to seal that edge if you're trying to roll outside. And if you're worried about being a pocket passer, then you've got to slide up if you're getting wide edges coming up in there, or work the screens or draws.
Cutler this time is brought down. He tried to step up in the pocket, but the Lions were there waiting for him, and Jason Hunter from his end spot gobbled him up. 2nd down 13. I kid because I care, you know that. And this is a Bell carry again. It'll bring up 3rd down.
I don't know about the Amsterdam airport, so I got to let you roll on that one.
Well, just sometimes security, it's been tightened around the country here. And that's what the Lions defense, they want to tighten up on Jay Cutler and the Chicago offense and keep it a 1-score game. The Bears content with letting the clock run out here in the 3rd quarter, but they'll be facing an important 3rd down and 11 if Chicago wants to keep the ball away. Trent Green, Chris Myers, and Devin Aromashodu with 4 catches today, including a touchdown grab. Boy, what he's done lately, being healthy and being needed by Cutler and the Bears. On 3rd and 11, is he the go-to guy? Cutler gets rid of it in the direction of Aromashodu.
They bring Delmas off the edge to create a problem with the pass protection, but then they drop the other 7 guys into coverage. So you have the good coverage, and you bring a secondary player that causes confusion for the protection is a real issue for the Bears up front.
And Delmas playing with a knee, toughed it out. The rookie from Western Michigan, the 33rd player selected, and the only rookie in the history of the NFL to have a fumble return for a touchdown, an interception return for a touchdown, and a safety in his rookie season, as Chicago gets ready for its 5th punch. And nearly blocked the pressure on Maynard. And a fair catch by Northcutt at the 41. So excellent field position for the Lions.
And this is exactly how the Lions wanted it to play out. They got their field goal last time, even though the fans didn't like it. They got the field goal to make it a 1-possession game. Now they've got great field position, gives them an opportunity to go down and attempt to tie this game up.
Well, they've used a nice mix on offense. Scott Linehan, Jim Schwartz, Linehan the offensive coordinator, of Maurice Morris and Aaron Brown, and Bryant Johnson with a touchdown catch, but they seem to have found something with Calvin the last few series.
Well, I'm looking for him to take a big shot to Calvin. They have yet to try and stretch the field, to really throw one up the field and let that big-bodied receiver go make a play.
Culpepper rolls out, throws high, but a nice grab. He went up and got it. 6'5½", and Calvin Johnson with a 1st down catch.
He was about 6'10" on that play. He went up and really got it. And I think the Bears are thinking they're going to try and take a deep shot. You can see the defenders thinking he's running deep. Calvin does a good job of coming back to the ball. There's nothing you can do about that as a defender. You put the ball that high and you got a guy that big to go grab the ball. Great body control by Calvin Johnson. Strong hands getting the ball.
And Zach Bowman covering, who had an interception early in the game, as Maurice Morris carries. You know, in the earlier meeting in Chicago in the first half, Bowman got burned by Calvin Johnson. He had 8 catches in the game, and they adjusted in the second half, did the Chicago Bears, using different defensive coverages, and kind of took Calvin Johnson out of the game. It's flipping the other way this time. Nathan Vasher, the other corner. We may see Corey Graham as well on Calvin Johnson, but this time it is Bowman lining up on second down. The pitch to Morris. He hands it to Calvin Johnson running the other way. Culpepper throwing a block. Calvin Johnson goes down at the 30. And Nathan Vasher made sure he didn't spring it.
That may have been the best catch of the day for Calvin Johnson. Even though he's had 2 where he's had to jump in the air and drag his feet to get in. You can see on this toss to Maurice Morris, he tries to get him the ball. One-handed reaches behind him, grabs the ball. That was an ugly play in the Bruin, and Dante Culpepper is able to get in the way a little bit. But when you're going full speed, you see the defensive lineman coming in your direction. You're able to reach back behind you and grab that ball. Like I said, that may be his best catch of the day.
Out of breath. Excellent penetration by the Bears defense. So on 3rd and short, penalty.
False start. Offense, number 85. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
It's on Jake Nordine, the backup tight end. And remember, a guy who hasn't been with the squad the entire year, that kind of penalty on 3rd and short in this position can just kill an offensive drive.
And you go from 3rd and 2 feet to all of a sudden 3rd and 5.5 now. I know with the position of the game and the position they are on the field, this is probably 2-down territory. You're not going to attempt a field goal of 55 yards at this point in time. So they really have 2 downs to try and get this.
Calvin Johnson checks back in. Culpepper from the shotgun. He's going to step up. He's going to try and run, and he falls down short of the first down on his own. So it'll be 3rd and about 2.
I think they go for it. I don't think you attempt a 52-yard field goal here.
And where they marked it, it's more like 3.5, 4 yards.
And last time they had the ball around the 40-yard line, they punted and they punted it right in the end zone, so they only netted 20 yards. So I think this is a good decision.
So what's a good call?
And the one that was made up here. Well, they got him in the shotgun, so I think you're going to try and see. You have to find your best one-on-one matchup. You see at the bottom of the screen here, or the top of the screen, you've got both Johnsons one-on-one.
Instead, he looks at the middle. There's Calvin Johnson, who has a first down catch on 4th and 4. The Lions come through. That big body was too much for Bowman to get around.
And you can see in the slot, the defender chases the inside slant, which opens up the outside slant to Calvin Johnson. Fortunately, the protection is long enough that Culpepper can pump fake to the inside, get him to draw inside, and then he resets his feet, and you put it on that big body, he's going to bring it in.
11-10 to go here in the 4th quarter. Lions moving for what they hope to be a tying touchdown at extra point on 1st and 10. Pressure coming. Culpepper delivers. Brian Johnson has a first down. And the Lions with a 1st and goal.
Good job by Bryant Johnson. Even better job by Dante Culpepper getting the ball out of his hands. There's a nickel pressure coming off his right side off of the slot. He doesn't see that coming. He gets the ball out of his hands to Bryant Johnson, who splits the defenders and gets the first down and makes it 1st and goal, which is a situation the Lions haven't been in a lot today or this year.
No Charles Tillman. Corey Graham limps off. You know, Danielle Manning, Al Afalava on the injured list. The secondary beat up for the Bears on 1st and goal. Will the Lions throw it here? No, they will run it to Aaron Brown. It'll bring up 2nd and goal.
It's interesting to see on that play. Most of the day, especially down in this area, they've used the safety. Steltz on this occasion you thought was going to go over the top and give Bauman help with Calvin Johnson. But Steltz came down inside the box and left one-on-one on the outside. Let's see if the Lions take advantage of that, if they can get a one-on-one matchup again.
And Calvin Johnson goes to the right side, so that'll be the top of your screen and a one-on-one matchup for Culpepper. Aaron Brown remains in the backfield. Culpepper is going for Calvin, and touchdown Lions.
And as soon as you see that one-on-one matchup, the Bears committed 8 guys to the box, leaving the one-on-one matchup. And when you have a 6'5" receiver, yeah, you're going to let the defender come free off the slot because you know the quarterback's taking a 3-step drop and putting it up to where Calvin Johnson is going to be able to rip it down.
9:37 to go here in the fourth quarter. Calvin Johnson closing in on his back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving seasons, but more importantly may lead this Lion team to an upset win to close out the season. Jason Hanson, Harris the holder, everything good, and the extra point. We're tied at 20. Along with Trent Green and Jennifer Hammond, Chris Myers ringing in the new year. The Bears and the Lions in a tie game here at Ford Field, and an impressive scoring drive. They had a 4th down gamble. Calvin Johnson was the go-to guy during that drive.
And Calvin Johnson talked to us about the last time playing the Bears, his matchup with Zachary Bowman. He was looking to getting one-on-one. He's been getting a lot of double teams, but having that one-on-one, they were able to take advantage of it over Bowman on that play.
And a deep kick that Devin Hester will return. And upended. Calvin Pearson, who on the fake punt failed, delivered this hit on Devin Hester, keeping him at the 13-yard line. Hester shaken up, but appears to be okay on the Bears sideline. So the crowd getting a little noisier on 1st and 10 for Cutler. Matt Forte across the 15, 16, all the way up to the 17.5-yard line. A good gain on 1st down.
And that's what the Bears need to be able to run the ball. But look for them in this 2nd or 3rd down situation. They've got to get a play fake in and get Cutler outside the pocket, or at least get the play fake and set him up in the pocket to where he was able earlier in the game to get the ball downfield to Greg Olsen.
Cutler's used 6 different receivers, but Greg Olsen has been Mr. Reliable as Forte remains in on 2nd and 5. Cutler rolls, throws high and incomplete for Forte. Good pressure by the Lions.
And give credit to the Lions defense. Jason Hunter gets up the field. 97, Jason Hunter gets up the field and causes Jay Cutler to throw this ball high. He has to get it over the outstretched hands, causes that ball to go high and tip off the fingertips and put that type of pressure. Now the crowd's really getting into it.
So Devin Hester checks back in on 3rd and 5. The Bears are 5 of 12 in the 3rd down department today.
And they have all 8 in the box.
Cutler has time. Down. Oh, it's for Hester. He's got Devin. Can he get past? He cannot get away from William James. But a big completion, and Cutler surveyed the field well before he delivered it.
And the problem with putting 8 guys in the box, is being able to recover and get deep enough. And with Devin Hester's speed, he gets James turned around, flips his hip, and cuts to the inside. When those 8 guys are in the box, they can't get back to the middle and cover that middle part of the field.
A 48-yard gain. Devin Hester in and out again for a breather. And if you're James, right, Trent, you got to play back with the speed of Hester.
You have to. So you understand him biting on that fake. It just he has no help in the middle of the field.
Forte checks back in and running back. On 1st down, Cutler looks to throw this time. Good pocket for Olsen. Greg Olsen inside the 10, down inside the 5. And what a response by this Bears offense.
Nice job by Forte picking up the secondary pressure, coming off the edge, giving Cutler time to step up in the pocket. Once again, we talked about this at the beginning of the drive. Use the play fake, roll out, set up in there. This is a play they had success with earlier in the game. Getting Olsen behind that underneath coverage and in front of the deep coverage, and Cutler puts it right on time.
Olsen nearing 100 yards receiving today. 8 touchdown catches this year, including 1 earlier. On 1st and goal. Matt Forte has it. Penalty flag as he goes down around the goal line, reaching forward with the football. I see you shaking your head up here.
Well, I'm shaking my head because we talked to Lovie Smith and the frustration that he showed with the inconsistencies.
Holding, defense, number 79. Half the distance to the goal. Replay, 1st down.
Well, Lovie Smith isn't going to be shaking his head on those inconsistencies. Where the flag comes in, it looks like an offensive holding, but they call defensive holding where the defensive lineman grabs the offensive player so that they can't rub off to the linebackers. That's where the holding call comes in. You can see where Hunter grabs the blocker to try and keep him off the linebackers, and that's what that was called on the play.
So a 1st and goal. He fakes, Cutler throws, and touchdown Bears. Desmond Clark in the end zone. And Desmond Clark, at age 32, the oldest offensive player to have a score. This is a young football team, 26 years and younger for most of the key players. Coming off a big Monday night game, he's in the clear.
You can see both tight ends are going to be open. The Lions commit everybody to the play fake, to the run fake, and really Cutler had his pick of which guy he wanted to hit because no defender was on either tight end.
Kellen Davis had checked in as the extra point is good by Robbie Gould. Bears lead by 7 here in the 4th quarter. Jay Cutler with 3 touchdown passes, 26 touchdown passes for the year to go with those 26 interceptions, which we know led the NFL. But Trent, this is an impressive road game for Jay Cutler, considering some of the problems he's had on the road this year, and that includes today's numbers.
Well, he's had problems on the road, and this team has had problems on the road. They've only had 1 win on the road coming into today, and Jay Cutler is one of those reasons, but he doesn't have any turnovers today and the 3 touchdown passes.
Derek Williams on the return. Gets to the 27-yard line for the Lions.
Well, it'll be the responsibility of the Lions now to try and answer. There's only 7 minutes left in the game, down by 7. Do what worked for you on the last series. Use the run fake. Run the ball on the inside to set up the run play action. Get the ball to Calvin Johnson, who's able to stretch the field, and they're giving a lot of one-on-one coverage. It'll be interesting to see if the Bears use that same concept or if they go more of a cover 2 look where they give a safety help over the top.
Culpepper to throw on 1st down and dumps it off. Just short of the 35-yard line, Maurice Morris.
And that was indicative of what it looks like the Bears are going. They're going to make Culpepper be patient and throw the ball down the field. Stelz was up tight, appearing to be an 8-man box. He drops back into coverage. They give the cover 2 so that Bowman has help over the top. That's Culpepper's responsibility to have the patient hit the checkdowns.
And Zach is still on Calvin Johnson out on the right side on 2nd down and 2.
The safeties are starting out near the line, but they're going to drop out into coverage.
And for a 1st down carry, Morris gets up near the 40-yard line. Josh Bullocks from his safety spot, knocking him down. 6.5 to go in the 4th quarter.
And good recognition by Scott Linehan, the offensive coordinator for Detroit, understanding, hey, if these safeties are going to be near the box and try dropping out into coverage to help from a play action standpoint, then let's run the ball. And they were able to on that time when the safeties dropping deep.
Aaron Brown checks in. Greg Stelz got a 2nd NFL start today out of LSU, the 4th round draft pick. Culpepper fakes and has it. Has time to throw and has to go short underneath. That's his fullback, Jerome Felton. And Jerome Felton all the way down to the 35 of Chicago.
And with the inconsistency of the offensive line that Detroit has had this season, this play action fake, you can see the Lions give Culpepper good time. Well, the Bears drop everybody into coverage. Good discipline by Dante once again to hit the check down. And Felton making somebody miss in the open field, able to pick up a big gain.
Lance Briggs missed him earlier or slipped on the turf after a 24-yard pickup. So from the 36-yard line of the Bears, trailing by 7. Penalty flag. Looked like somebody jumped for the Lions. Maybe he did influence the official this time.
Delay of game, defense, number 35. 5-yard penalty, automatic, 1st down.
They were standing in such tight coverage, Calvin Johnson and Zachary Bowman, that Bowman went to get a jam on Calvin Johnson.
Correction, 1st and 5.
Went to get a jam on Calvin Johnson. Well, the problem is when it's called, you can see it right here, and right before the snap, you'll see Bowman go and try and touch him, and then they call delay a game. I don't know why it's called delay a game and not an encroachment, but they can call it whatever they want. It's a 5-yard penalty.
And on 1st down, it'll be another 1st down as Aaron Brown weaves his way down to the 15-yard line. The Lions responding trying for their third win of the year.
And responding quickly. They haven't wasted any time getting the ball right down the field, moving the ball. Good job by Brian Johnson coming over, blowing up Zachary Bowman. And Aaron Brown making the cutback to pick up another 5 yards.
In their earlier meeting, it was to attack Zachary Bowman, and they've done that effectively here in this game. On 1st and 10. Culpepper, end zone. Oh, and Bowman had his hands on it. It was intended for Calvin Johnson.
Very dangerous pass by Dante Culpepper. If he had to do that to do all over, if he had that to do all over again, I'm sure he'd want to put that high and on the back line. Instead, he underthrows it and gives Bowman an opportunity to undercut it and almost make the interception.
Even on the touchdown catch to Calvin Johnson, it was a ball that wasn't thrown exactly on the right spot by Culpepper, but Johnson adjusted. Here it'll be 2nd and 10. 4:54 to play in the season finale for the Bears and Lions. Who goes out with a roar? Culpepper with time, corner of the end zone, and thrown over the head of Dennis Northcutt. It'll bring up a 3rd down.
Good decision, good pocket. There's nobody open. Go throw it away. You're in the red zone. Don't take a sack. There was no room really for him to run and trying to get into a shorter down and distance. It's a good decision to throw it away.
They need 10. Is this 2 down, 4 down territory? Do you go for it given the timeouts? Well, they need 10 yards for a 1st down.
I think with based on the number of minutes left in the game and the timeouts, I really don't think it's that crucial right now.
May depend whether they pick up 8 or 9, but they're hoping for a 1st down, and they're going to talk about it. You got to know if you're in 4 down territory. So maybe that's why the timeout. Scott Linehan, offensive coordinator, with Dante Culpepper to make sure that they know what they're doing next.
Well, that may change your decision. If you have your full complement of timeouts, sometimes you can go ahead and kick the field goal knowing you have all your timeouts, and if things are going wrong from a defensive standpoint, you can utilize those timeouts to try and save some clock time. But maybe they've already made the decision, hey, you've got 2 downs to make this 1st down, and they let Dante know that, so he wanted to get in a good play.
Coming up on the doubleheader, most of you will see the Eagles and Cowboys. That's our pop-up or elevator, the technical term that just kind of slides up on the screen. But so they need 10 yards for a 1st down. If they get a touchdown, obviously they're down 7. But now with only 2 timeouts, you'll have the 2-minute warning. They're giving the indication that they're going to go for it here, but let's see.
I think a lot of it depends on how many yards they get here. If it makes it into a shorter down and distance, they could go for it on 4th. But they're looking to pick up the 1st down or get in the end zone.
Bears show as if they will blitz, and here they come. Picked up Culpepper, his own man, and Culpepper on the run for the end zone. Overthrew. Oh, he had Calvin Johnson.
He had him open. It was a great job by Dante stepping up in the pocket, finding some room. He ran out of the pocket, and everyone reacted thinking he was going to take off and run. But he had Calvin Johnson. That's one that Dante's going to be kicking himself for because he had an opportunity for a touchdown there. But you can see Detroit is answering by going out, and they're going to kick the field. 4th and 10 isn't as manageable as if it was a 4th and 2 situation.
So Jason Hanson, who has been good every time they've called on him, can he go 4 for 4? A 32-yard try. Clean snap, hold, and kick, and he is right on target. For the Bears, their 3rd straight season of not going to the playoffs, and for the Lions, just hoping to start the decade off right, but Culpepper missed on this one.
And it's a missed opportunity. Good job by Dante shuffling in the pocket, but he's got a lane to keep that ball low. He doesn't have to throw the ball high. From the angle I was at, I thought he threw it high because there was a defender there that he had to try dropping it over to get to that back line. But you could see Steltz, who was in the slot, bite up on Dante running and gave him a lane to make that throw.
Can Hester give the Bears position to put the game away? Excellent coverage on the special teams. Knocked out at the 15-yard line. Calvin Pearson again making the play, and we have an injured player on the field for the Lions, and it is Calvin Pearson. As Jay Cutler comes in, trying to seal this one for Chicago.
And this is, you look at his play, you talk about the consistency that he's had today. You talk about the consistency that he had last week. This is what the Bears have expected. And this is going to be, when you talk about a 4-minute drill in the 4th quarter with a lead, This is what, as an offensive line, as an offensive group, you've got to be able to run the ball from a quarterback standpoint. You've got to have completions and keep the ball in bounds. And those are all things that you want to communicate in the huddle to try and make the Lions force them to use their timeouts.
Calvin Pearson getting up and limping off. Very popular player. This is how he got hurt. He's the one who has been delivering tough hits on Devin Hester, so kind of sliding into his own man. Through last year's winless season, Calvin Pearson was one of the more reliable, steady performers. 66% of this Detroit Lions roster is different, Trent, from last year, and they're playing that way.
And there'll be even more turnover this offseason with the young team that they're trying to develop.
Forte carries. Penalty flag as he is stopped short of the 25-yard line.
They're going to get Detroit with defensive holding again, which is unusual.
Holding, defense, number 79. 5-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
That's on rookie Sammy Hill.
The league made an emphasis of that rule a couple of years ago because offensive linemen were complaining about the number of defensive linemen that were holding them and not getting up to the linebacker. So there has been an emphasis on that was pointed out. To see it twice in one game, let alone back-to-back series, is very rare.
And Jim Schwartz, defensive-minded coach all those years in Tennessee, as the coordinator, upset about that. Louis Delmas is out of the game. Anthony Henry in at safety for the Lions as Forte carries again. And Anthony Henry made the stop from that safety position. You know, Jim Schwartz, with the economics degree from Georgetown, said that this guy was his top defensive player through the course of the year, likes the defensive players he has in place at each layer. Sammy Hill on the defensive line. You've talked about DeAndre Levy at the linebacker spot. And, of course, Delmas at the safety position. Something to build on for the future. All rookies who have contributed greatly. Can they stop the Bears here on 2nd and 4? There is Levy looking in. Forte. First down Bears. Breaks across midfield. Still on his feet. What a run by Matt Forte.
Not only is it a big run from the amount of yardage he got and the fact that now they're in the red zone, but his ability to stay in bounds and cut back, his vision to get separation, is able to get away, sees the vision, sees the pursuit of the defense, cuts back to the middle of the field, stays in bounds, and keeps the clock running. And that forces Detroit to use one of their timeouts.
And they only have, the Lions, one timeout remaining. What a run by Forte. Now 96 yards total in the game, 53 of them coming on that. You just talked about how important it was to advance the ball and kill the clock. And now, of course, you're in scoring position as well.
And now they've really advanced the ball because now they are in scoring position. If you're able to get a touchdown, then you potentially put this game out of reach. It's up to the Detroit defense now to hold them to a field goal, which is what they were doing in the first half. Now in the second half, Chicago has been converting these situations for touchdowns. Detroit's got to be able to hold them to a field goal.
And the handoff again to Forte. Why not go to the guy with the hot hand as the clock is stopped. Jason McKee, the fullback, is hurt. The Bears, with 2 timeouts here, will have to see if he can get off the field before they'd have to use a timeout.
And once again, it's one of those situations, and you see it all the time. We saw it earlier in the game as well. When you have players that are in contact, engaged with another player, and you're in a pile and people fall into the back of your legs, that is one of the biggest concern, I know, for offensive linemen and for fullbacks.
Take a look at what happened.
When bodies fall into the back of your legs, and you can see right there the whole pile falling into the back of McKee's leg and getting pinned underneath him.
And the only listed fullback active for this game, of course, Adrian Peterson. We've seen Khalil Bell carry the ball, the rookie from UCLA, but Matt Forte has been money on the ground here in the second half. And 3 touchdown passes in the air for Jay Cutler today, and no turnovers. So 16 rushes, 101 yards officially for Matt Forte. On 2nd and 8, Bell checks in. And has room to run forward. As the Clock hits 3:02, and the Lions will use their last timeout. They'll still have the 2-minute warning. So if you're the Bears, you're just going to try to run things out. Do you worry about taking a shot at the end zone?
Well, I think that you've got to try and you don't want to be too conservative, but you also know that if you do a play action and try and hit a back in the flat, or you've had success with play action and hitting Greg Olsen up the field, you're going to take the chance of, if there's an incompletion, of the clock stopping and giving Detroit that extra timeout with the 2-minute warning.
So 3:02 to go, and it's only a 4-point lead. So you make a good point. If you settle for a field goal, you're the Bears, and you leave some time left. Who knows? A big return, a big play. Maybe the Lions get a touchdown and force a tie. On 3rd down. And we welcome those of you who watch the Giants and Vikings on 3rd and 5. Cutler for the end zone, and he has Devin Aromashodu for the 2nd time today. They have hooked up for a touchdown. The 4th touchdown pass of this game for Jay Cutler.
And that's what I like seeing Jay Cutler, how they utilize Jay Cutler is get the play fake, get the rollout, get him outside of the pocket where he feels comfortable. If the back's not open in the flat, don't force anything down the field, but he has Devin Aromashodu one-on-one in the end zone. Aromashodu is going to come up and run an out route, and Cutler does a good job of putting the ball in a place that either Devin's going to catch it for a touchdown or it's incomplete and you've got a field goal. Great job by Cutler.
Robbie Gould with the extra point, and Aromashodu, they have found something. And for Jay Cutler, 27 touchdown passes this year.
And for all the criticism that Ron Turner has been taking throughout the season, he and Jay Cutler have really been on the same page the last 2 weeks. The way that they've utilized his talents, the way they've gotten Devin Aromashodu involved in the game plan, and they've utilized him not only in the passing game, but just open things up for the running game.
And it's helped that Devin Hester has returned, part of the offense as well, as the Bears build a 34-23 advantage. And we welcome those of you who've been watching the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Atlanta Falcons. Happy New Year. Trent Green, Chris Myers, our entire crew here. Those of you earlier who had joined us from the Giants-Vikings broadcast. Devin Hester, back after missing 3 games, has played a role, but the Devin Aromashodu story has carried over from Monday night. And Jay Cutler, you know, he talked about it before the game, or at least some of his teammates did. Much was made of his 26 interceptions, worst in the NFL. They said, we want to get him more touchdowns than picks for the entire year, and that's where he stands. Derek Williams on the return, and he gets across the 25-yard line. They went toe-to-toe. The ball come out on the end of that. Looked like it was loose. Let's see what the official rules if he was down. No timeouts remaining for the Lions. An 11-point Chicago lead with 2:50 to go. And it is fumbled by Williams, recovered by the Bears. He actually never went to the ground before the ball is stripped out.
Once again, a late game forced fumble that the Bears were able to get. They did it last week in overtime. Hillenmeyer had against Adrian Peterson in the Minnesota game on Monday night. Once again, they do it again today to pretty much put this game away.
Now, what a play by Tim Shaw, who has been a special team stud for the Bears. He has friends and family here, got 40 tickets, grew up in Livonia, Michigan, signed as a free agent from Carolina, Jacksonville. He's been a terrific player, special teams player, and a guy that has earned a regular spot at home on the Bears for years to come. So Khalil Bell, the rookie from UCLA, to help run the clock down. Over 100 yards for Matt Forte. And so 27 touchdown passes for the year, and the 26 interceptions, as we said, coming in, and that number is on hold as Bell remains in the backfield. Again, no timeouts here. This should take us to the 2-minute warning. We have reached the 2-minute mark here at Ford Field. The Lions battled into a 20-all tie before Jay Cutler and the Bears responded to build an 11-point lead. No timeouts left for Detroit. On 3rd down and 7. And Bell carries. Stops short of the first down. So the Bears can either let the clock run, they can try and kick another field goal. And if you joined us a little bit late, we talked about the performance of Jay Cutler, and Matt Forte got the running game going, a big 50-yard plus run in the second half.
This is the second week in a row that the Bears have been able to get over 100 yards rushing, and having that balance and being able to take some of that pressure off of Jay Cutler, off of the offensive line. There's been a lot of inconsistencies. We talked about that with Lovie Smith, and we talked about it throughout this game, getting consistency on the offensive side of the ball.
Jay Cutler has set the Bears single-season completion record in this game, surpassing that held by Eric Kramer, and he's second on the all-time single-season yardage list for one season. Not bad for your first year in Chicago. As the Bears use a timeout, they have one left. We'll talk about Lovie's future, which is up in the air, but Jay Cutler, it seems, with Aroma Shadu or whatever they found in these last 2 weeks, you can carry that over into next year.
Well, you can, and you start talking about the development of the players. Aroma Shadu is a guy that's been on their roster. He's in his 3rd year. He developed into that guy. Jay Cutler's been talking about him for the last few weeks, getting him more involved, and you see what's happened these last 4 games with Devin Aroma Shadu, getting him involved and finding those young weapons that he can start putting together with Matt Forte, with Devin Hester, with Earl Bennett, with Johnny Knox when he's healthy. They're putting a foundation together.
A 34-yard field goal attempt, and Robbie Gould is 2 for 2. And Robbie is money once again to add to the lead. Now 37-23.
I think when you look at the big picture, you look at everything. Jerry Angelo's got a tough decision to make. Do you put pressure on Lovie Smith to make changes at the coordinator spot? Now, the argument for Ron Turner is look at what's happened the last 2 weeks when he's opened up that playbook and really done more play calling directed to what Jay Cutler can do, moving around in the pocket, getting outside the pocket. They've had a lot of effectiveness the last 2 weeks. Is it enough for him to save his job will remain to be seen. But I think Lovie Smith, I think you give him another year. Yes, he's had some up and down years in Chicago, but you look at the number of injuries they've had and the foundation they have in place, this is a team that should be doing much better than what they're doing.
Aaron Brown back on the return for the Lions. And Aaron Brown gets through. Can Robbie Gould stop him? He spins past Gould, falls down inside the 37-yard line. Joaquin Iglesias, the rookie receiver from Oklahoma, kept Aaron Brown from going to the end zone.
And Detroit's going to have to take a quick hit here on this return. Aaron Brown has great vision. Good job by his blockers. Missed tackle by the Bears. Aaron Brown gets it into position. Detroit's got to take a shot at the end zone quick because they've got to try an onside kick and then get the ball back again if they want any chance of it.
53-yard kickoff return by Brown. Culpepper's gone the whole way. Drew Stanton, his backup. Remember Matthew Stafford's surgery this week. He is the man of the future for the Lions as Culpepper has time and throws for the end zone, and Stelz back there, almost intercepted. As for the Lions, we know Matthew Stafford is their quarterback of the future. I'm impressed, and you and I got to do the first game that Jim Schwartz did as a head coach when they lost to the Saints on opening day. I like the pieces that are in place. Are you confident that Jim Schwartz has this franchise really with a direction for the first time in a lot of years?
Well, I think that he talked about building that foundation, and we've talked recently about the pieces that are in place on the defensive side of the ball. Louis Delmas at free safety, DeAndre Levy at middle linebacker, and Sammy Hill being a solid person at all 3 levels. And then the offensive side of the ball, you mentioned Stafford and Brandon Pettigrew, the tight end, who's on IR as well.
Northcutt with the catch, and Calvin Johnson, who has been able to really have a terrific season because of the injury at quarterback and no one else really stepping up on offense.
And that's what amazes people even more is you look at him and the numbers that he's able to put up with the rotating quarterbacks with no second or third receiver or consistent second or third receiver. It really puts pressure on him as a player, and he continues to step up and make plays like he did today.
Brian Johnson with the first down catch. Brian Johnson had a touchdown catch earlier in the game as Culpepper will spike the ball. 17 seconds remaining here, down by 2 touchdowns. And at running back, you know, Detroit, Kevin Smith had been running well, running hard before his injury. It's an area where the Lions may need to look. The Rams will have the #1 draft choice unless they opt to trade it, losing today to San Francisco in St. Louis. So the Lions will get an opportunity to draft another terrific player, and they've done well in the last couple of drafts.
And that's what Coach Schwartz has said that they're real pleased with, is the last 2 draft classes, how those guys have panned out, how they've performed, and the ability of the young players to step up, and they've gotten playing experience this year.
Out of bounds with 12 seconds left. A sold-out crowd here at Ford Field to close the year. I know some Bears fans came. It's about a 5-hour drive. But an entertaining game. And if you're a Lions fan, from 0-16, at least a couple of wins in the right direction. If you're a Bears fan, you were thinking playoffs when you got Jay Cutler. I think there's enough here, Trent, as you talked about. You add a couple of players through the draft, keep people healthy, that the Bears can contend for the playoffs, finishing this up with their 7th win, provided they hold on. From the shotgun, Culpepper completes. That's Will Heller, his tight end. Clock continues to run. Will they get one more shot at the end zone? And no. Time runs out on the Lions. And the 160th meeting. The great history of the Bears and Lions, division rivals through the years. Chicago sweeps, and Jay Cutler with 4 touchdown passes. Lovie Smith, definitive answer on his future we should hear shortly. Devin Aromashodu, a star, with the return of Devin Hester. For Trent Green, I'm Chris Myers. The Bears over the Lions at Ford Field. Happy New Year.